So we're finally got here. This is Chris Tabor, day after the Saints loss, coming up to the podium. Let's hear what he has to say right here with me, Nick, on Roll Coverage. Let's go.
Hey, I thought it was all over.
Yep, here he is, interim coach Chris Tabor. I've obviously had my thoughts on him. I'm not going to bring that in this video. If you want to know, go find that video where I think that he's the snitch from the Diana Rossini and Joe Person's Hunger Games article. But without further ado, I'm going to give him his chance. Mr. Tabor, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good to see you on Zoom. Go ahead, I'll let you fire away.
Immediately, if you watched the press conference breakdown or post-game press conference breakdown that I did, where he was in all black, he immediately came out here and seemed very disheveled, very upset, very in the moment, emotional almost. So let's see. Obviously, he's coming in here a little bit more open. He's had time to digest stuff, could really come up with his answers. So I'm really hoping for a more polished, more happy Chris Tabor.
The floor is open. If anyone wants to start with the opening question, go ahead.
Chris, I know yesterday you were clearly frustrated.
That's exactly what I said. They even asked him in that press conference if he was frustrated. And just so you know, that press conference went 4 minutes. This was not much longer at 8 minutes, 50 seconds. So
clearly upset about the loss. And I know you said you don't like losing, obviously. Were you able to find these silver linings in the tape, going back and looking at it? And what do you think the biggest lesson you probably got out of this game was?
I would still stick by my statement with regards to, yes, I don't like to lose. Once you dig into the tape will talk to you. You just have to listen to it. There were some things that the guys did well, and I think probably an area that we want to improve upon is just the.
By the way, if the AV people heard me over at the Panthers, that reporter was actually a little louder than normal. Boy, if I got through to you guys, I'm super happy. Because being able to hear the question sometimes is the hardest part.
And we talked about is just the self-inflicted stuff. I think that's the hardest part.
Of course, the one part of the game that really suffered was the special teams, which is his job.
For me, just in my own area, I will always tip my hat to the opponent, no question. But you know, when we make mental errors, that hurts our team. Those are tough to swallow. Now, with that being said, what are you going to do? I mean, you got to go back to work. You got to keep coaching it, points of emphasis, and work to get better. You're never going to get those plays back, and I understand that. But we got to improve on things like that.
Again, body language being one of those things that we like to watch. He seems very Frank Reich Game 8. Game 9, Game 10 kind of thing. He seems very defeated. He seems very monotone. Haven't even seen him really crack a smile. He's just kind of like, well, we suck now with me, so what's happening? So,
all right, let's go to Alex Zietlow, followed by David Newton.
Hi, Chris. There were 5, 6, 7 shots that y'all took over 20 yards in the passing game. A couple of them came on 3rd and 4th down. Were those in-game, spur-of-the-moment decisions, or was throwing deep a priority going in?
If he tells us that it wasn't like something that they schemed up and all that other stuff, it's false. I want to hear his thoughts, and then I'll get out mine. But that's a very good question.
No, I think you're always looking to take shots when you can. They obviously played really just played man-to-man the whole game, so you're gonna be able to take some shots there. We didn't connect when we wanted to. And that's another area that we got to improve upon. But it's just one of those things that, you know, unfortunately we didn't convert enough on some of those 3rd and 4th downs. And I think there's a lot of things that go into that. You know, guys just making a catch here or there. Sometimes, you know, you can look at some other things also, but we got to improve in those areas.
Agree with you. So I was letting him finish that because one of the things that they talked about in his previous press conferences, which if you don't follow us, make sure to follow us over here on YouTube. Follow me over on Twitter at Roll Coverage Pod. We actually broke down an interview where he talked about, man, we're already making the decision for 3rd and 4th down on 2nd down. So if that's the case, they already knew that they pretty much had a play schemed up, that if it was, say, 3rd and 4 or less, this is what we're going to do. And it wasn't, working out for them. So I understand the drops. I understand the play calling. I understand the offensive line has been real tough. Again, as a Panthers fan that watches every snap every week, it's real tough. But at the same time, this is not something that he can really deflect, as he does have the previous history of, again, telling us, hey, man, 2nd down, we're thinking about it, but we're already thinking about 3rd down. We're thinking about 4th down. So they were already planning on some of that. They already knew their play before they even got there. So he might have not been involved in those decisions, as Thomas Brown is the offensive play caller, offensive coach, and running back coach. But that's just my opinion.
And just to follow up on that, when you are running the ball so well,
then why the fuck would you give it up on 3rd and 4th down to somebody other than a running back? I don't know. That's just what we do as Carolina Panthers. We do the wrong thing, regardless of who the head coach is.
Is it kind of going through your mind of, hey, I have to do my part to develop Bryce and to get him comfortable throwing the ball deep? Is that part of the calculus when you're making those calls in the game?
So. I think in game stuff, you're always, I don't think you think like that about in game. I think you're thinking about, hey, what's it going to take to win the game? What do we need to do in this particular situation? What are they given? And we think maybe we have a matchup here or there that maybe we can take advantage of. And I think that's how you're thinking about in-game calls, I would say.
That's fair. Again, giving us a good, informative answer. But I just feel like he doesn't have the same juice. Okay? We're used to seeing this really happy dude full of apple juice showing up, and we're getting a dude full of tangerine juice now. So I need him to revert back to that. He needs to be jovial with his team. I understand people are like, take ping pong tables away and all that other stuff. But they're still human beings. They still need to learn and develop in their own ways, build camaraderie, build a team, do all those different things. So I think that this is a problem, and I think this is why Tabor will not be retained moving forwards. Just in case you guys don't know, I haven't done a video on it. I don't think I really should, just because it's all speculative right now. But the rumor is that Thomas Brown's wife went on Twitter, respond to Charlotte Season, one of the people that are out there that cover the Panthers, kind of more of a middle tier account. He hasn't fully committed to the news side, kind of a little bit of both. Kind of like us over here at Roll Coverage. And she responded and basically saying that Thomas Brown was already fired. They were basically just staying behind to call plays and all that other stuff. And if that's the case, then Tepper most likely told them, hey, man, when you win a game or two, I'm going to retain some of y'all. And after these 2 losses, it's like, yeah, bro, I ain't retaining none of y'all. So I think that this is a complete lame duck coaching staff. I don't even think he keeps Evero. Unless he promotes Everett to head coach. But again, we're also supposed to go after Ben Johnson. So there's a lot of stuff playing in here and a lot of undertones, and also a lot of, who is the coach backstabbing Frank Reich from the article and all this other stuff. So I think Tabor is now in a wildfire of problems that he's not going to be able to overcome unless he wins out, which is not going to be possible. So
Thank you.
Hey, Coach David Newton here. Want you to speak to your decision to give the team today off. Is that just to give them a chance to catch their breath on what's been a long season? And did you give the coaches the same time off, or is that just for players only?
It's for players only. It was something that I had decided upon, and you just have to, I think, read your.
So again, when people want to roast Frank for everything he did, here's the interim coach that people thought that would be just measurably better, make the team better, giving guys the day off after they lost another game. I don't know what it is. I don't know what you guys want, whether or not you guys want a hard ass or a soft guy or somebody in the middle, but they need to be able to balance it. Him giving the players off might have been his way to be like, hey, I can't even have you guys in the building without wanting to rip y'all's head off. So I don't know. It's just very odd at this point in the season and all that, with the success and failures that we've had. And yeah,
your team, read the room, and sometimes getting away and just kind of clearing your mind is a good solution to kind of having the same routine all the time, if that makes sense. I look forward to seeing the guys again on Wednesday. I mean, the thing about it is you say that you're off, but you do see them in the building. I mean, a lot of guys, they come in and get their lift, they're doing their routine, they're getting treatment. So you see quite a bit of them. I mean, I've had a few guys already up in my office watching tape. So I think when sometimes people hear the word day off, they think, hey, we don't see anybody. You actually see everybody. I guess it would be another way of saying we don't have any formal meetings. That might be a great way to put it.
Right. And like among those that have shown up today, can you address a few of those? Like, is Bryce one of those that showed up today, and some of the guys your other?
If Bryce isn't, again, I don't watch these ahead of time. I always give you my honest breakdown, play, pause, do whatever we need to do. I really hope Bryce is one of those. I hope Burns is. I hope Luvu. I hope a few of those guys are there. But if not, it's going to be a very interesting answer. So let's find out.
Leaders, Burns, those type guys.
I don't want to comment on who's all been in.
Oh, that's not a good sign. The fact that you're not wanting to comment on who's in the building means that Bryce is most likely not in the building. Am I reading too much into that? I might be. If that's the case, tell me down in the comments below. But regardless, why wouldn't you just answer the question? Yeah, man, we had a bunch of guys, offensive, defensive, blah, blah, blah. I'll give, 2 names on offense, 2 names on defense, and we're done. Don't have to expand on it anymore. But that is really interesting. If you actually know who was involved, again, drop it down here. Send me a DM on Twitter at RollCoveragePod.
I don't see everybody. I'm in my office, so I see some guys that come see me, or I have to go down and make my rounds through the training room to find out what's going on. But I know for a fact a lot of guys are in, and that's a typical Monday in the National Football League.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
All right, let's go to Joe Person, followed by Jeff Hawkins.
First of all, Joe Person was one of the people that wrote that article, the Hunger Games article. Look at that man's face going to look at Joe Person like, you mother. I don't think that Joe Person was bad for putting that out. I think it's great. It gives us an insight into what was actually happening, all things that I predicted over here at Roll Coverage. I'm going to keep tooting my own horn, but, man, I was right about that.
Hey, Chris, on the block punt or the fumble, whatever they end up calling it, looked like you had 2 guys in the blocking the A gap and leaving the B gap open. Just could you take us through how that happened?
Yeah, pretty simple. We had a man not perform his responsibility on the play, and that's what took place. I think, unfortunately, plays like that in special teams are usually a result of someone just making a busted assignment. It's I hate to use. I mean, it's unfortunate, but more importantly, it can't happen. And I think that's the thing that we got to work to get cleaned up, because now once you do that and you put it on tape, I always say that there's blood in the water for a good, well, till the end of the season. I always say 4 weeks. So we have what I call the 4-week stink on us.
Okay, I am giving massive pushback there, because you're supposed to be the special teams coach and the head coach. So I understand there's a lot on your plate, but there was a point where the previous head coach was the offensive play caller, worked with the offense, and was also the head coach. You know who didn't give him slack then? The fan base. You know who shouldn't give you slack now? The fan base. It is inexcusable for you to throw a player under the bus when it is you who are coaching and you who did not have that player ready to work. If we're going to put it all on coaching, coaches need to elevate and blah, blah, blah. You didn't elevate. You didn't even have your guy in the right place. Yes, is that partially player's fault? But it's also your fault too. That tells me that you've been slacking in the special teams room, in my opinion. Again, I have my own things about Chris Tabor. Go check out that video if you really want to get into it. But this is crazy to me. I understand that he didn't put his name out there, but if you want to go find it, you can go find it pretty easily. That player may have an issue playing for other teams in the future because of stuff like this. So I do not agree with any of this. You just say, hey man, it was a missed assignment, it happens, no big deal, I'm the special teams coach, it's my fault. Not he blew his assignment and now we have a 4-week stink. We have a 4-week stink because most likely, again, in my opinion, it was you, Chris Tabor, who went with the GM behind the head coach's back. And if you didn't, then you were the one that assisted in the usurping of that head coach. So I have very little respect for you at this point. I think that this has put a massive, more than 4 week stink on your career, Chris Tabor. So.
And Johnny took a shot on that play. How's he feeling day after?
He's doing fine. Everything checked out good, so we'll be in good shape there.
Again, body language, no jokes, no smiles, no happiness, no anything. That's what this is. That's what this job makes people. So when people say Ben Johnson's going to come in here and fix everything, they're going to turn into Chris Tabor, into the Frank Reich real quick. Period. Unless we just come out there and going to go on a 5-0 run, meaning wins wise, there's no way that this, even the next set of people is retained long term. If they get more than a season, I'd be happy, because I think that's what Frank should have gotten. At least get him to the offseason and then go from there. Firing somebody in the middle of the season never works out. It's always a hodgepodge afterwards, and players hate it. So I think that this is just bad overall on the organization. It's the owner's fault. It's the GM's fault. Yeah.
Greetings, Coach. Among the issues with the passing game, is the play calling trending too much in breaking routes? It appears the cornerbacks are sitting on the inside on the passing plays.
I don't know if I'd get that specific with it. That's a good question. But, as we talked about earlier a little bit there with Alex, we took a lot of deep shots also, not just always in breaking routes. I know that we had some nice conversions. We had a conversion there to Adam on the outside on an out-breaking route. I know we tried and just missed Mingo down the middle there. So I would say that in the passing game, they're still utilizing all field zones.
You're utilizing them all because they're trying to get something outside the numbers, because we have to continually feed inside the numbers because nobody can get open. So yes, he's kind of avoiding the question there, but the reason why we keep going inside is because nobody can make the play on the outside. Simple. Like it's not a hard answer, but obviously he doesn't want to throw people under the bus. But at this point, I feel like the wide receiver group is openly one of the worst in the league, if not the worst.
All right, we got time for a few more. Let's go to Skylar Callahan and finish up with Joe Person.
Hey, Chris.
Look at his face. I'm going to go back just briefly. As soon as he says the first name, he's like kind of rubbing himself, and you can see his face change as soon as he hears Joe's name. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but watch. I'm going to go back a little bit.
Passing game, they're still utilizing all field zones.
Okay, here it comes.
All right, we got time for a few more. Let's go to Skylar Callahan and finish up with Joe Person.
It's just like,
Hey, Chris. You've mentioned a couple of times how continuing to play Bryce can benefit him in a lot of ways. And I know a lot of people are kind of questioning the decision behind that and whether or not Andy should maybe start to maybe protect Bryce. But what do you think about that whole decision and what he can really benefit from?
Well, I think one way to become a better football player is playing football. That's
It's not the only way, but there is a such thing as football shape, football speed, game speed, the whole nine. So I think there's something into that Bryce should be played the rest of the season. If he ends up getting close to that 60 sack mark, I think we should pull him, or at least be very cautious. If he gets sacked more than 2-3 times, we need to pull him and put Dalton in and let him finish. But again, that could also hurt Bryce's development long term, hurt his confidence and everything like that. So this is a very slippery slope. I'd personally err on the side of health. But until health becomes an issue, I would keep playing him. Obviously not wait until he's hurt, but the minute he feels anything, soreness, whatever, let him sit. I don't care if you have to, basically fudge the IR or whatever you need to do to protect him, but you need to do something.
That's a pretty simple statement. And gaining experience in the only way you're going to gain experience in the National Football League is by playing. And, I have a tremendous amount of confidence in Bryce, and I know that there's games that and plays that he's going to want back, but no, that hasn't come into play. It has not.
I'm glad you're not having the discussion about getting rid of Dalton or getting rid of Bryce to play Dalton. I don't think Dalton is the way to go. You go to him in health or in a health issue only.
Chris, you mentioned that throw to Mingo. Is that one he's got to have? And on that series, Jonathan Vilma doing the color said that he thought Bryce looked uncomfortable in the pocket, was kind of bouncing on his feet rather than getting his feet set under.
He had to slide over just a little bit and delivered the throw. We didn't connect on it. And I think that if we obviously connect on the play, then maybe the commentary is he did a nice job sliding in the pocket and delivering the football.
Again, shout out to the Carolina Panthers YouTube. They put this out for us on the regular. Normally it's just a few hours before the press conference is live. So this was our full breakdown. In my opinion, this is one of his weaker ones. This is a C- in my opinion for him. Overall, I don't think that he's going to be able to rebound and maintain the head coaching moniker past this season, obviously. I actually said it would be kind of crazy. I could absolutely see David Tepper doing it, but is there a chance that we see two separate interim head coaches this year? I'm not sure. Regardless, my name is Nick. This has been Roll Coverage. Check us out on the regular for the breakdown over on YouTube, or again at Roll Coverage Pod on Twitter/X. Otherwise, you just have a great rest of the day. Peace.